and apparently I've got some bass going on from my kids out in the driveway trying to drive me insane. So let me see if I can get them quiet.
Base or a B-52 doing a drive-by?
Well, it's normally at my house a B-52 doing a drive-by, but no, this is kind of, the typical, well, they're not even teenagers now, they're in their early 20s thumping going on.
Now, look, you can't live in Bossier without knowing what a B-52 is and or having B-52s buzz your
Yeah.
house, but you tell me about B-52s coming over your house.
Well,
Like, and you being
yeah.
a drone pilot, a certified drone pilot and all, I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I
knowing
mean,
you probably even got some Windows music or something in your background.
well, yeah, we'll get to that too. But yeah, as a drone pilot, by FAA regulations, I can't fly the drone over 400 feet off of, basically ground level or an existing structure. So, like if there's a water tower, I can go 400 feet above the water tower. Okay. So I know
400 feet.
400 feet, that's it.
Well, well, that gum hadn't people went to the moon 400? Ain't that about how far that is?
Yeah, according to the people that we didn't actually go to the moon. But so when these B-52s come by, I know where 400 feet is, and trust me, some of them are not 400 feet. Like, I can see the pilot smiling at me and see the whites of their teeth and what color their eyes are sometimes. So,
Well, I'll tell you, I got a treat for you. If you think the B-52s are flying low over your camp, I got a treat for you on that.
yeah. Well, when we come back from the break, we'll show that because you told me about it, so I have a feeling it's going to be pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. But hey, tonight we got a pretty interesting show. We have got a guest that's going to come on and going to talk to us about the Louisiana Right to Life March.
Yeah.
I don't Have you ever done that?
Well, I'm familiar with it, because I've seen it in the news and all that. But I hate to say it, but I've honestly never gone and done the march. So it'll be interesting to learn some more about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And hey, guess what? Bossier City Council is back in business.
Wait, do we have
We
more
got
Zambonis or what's going on this time?
well, no Zambonis, but Ruttenbuck was in full effect today. Man Shack was,
Ah,
I mean, the dollars were flying and the council was throwing them out there. I mean, it was just a money fest in Bossier today.
well, somebody had texted me and said that they had heard that there were going to be some fireworks or some big deal going on there. I guess we'll have to check that out and see what else we got going on.
I don't know about fireworks, maybe sparklers, you know, not fireworks. Uh,
Never fireworks at the Bossier City Council. So what else? Oh yeah, we got to talk about um, Mike Johnson and the Barksdale Gate situation. Slight correction, but also an update to some of that information. And so we'll mention that. And I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and do our countdown, folks. We've only got about 20 people watching right now, which we appreciate every one of you. We did not advertise or put out a scheduled deal for this show tonight, although this is our regular show night. So we would appreciate anybody and everybody tagging friends, share this out in any social Facebook groups you're in or whatever, and let everybody know that we're definitely on live tonight. So in the meantime, let's go do our countdown, and we'll be back in about 2.5, 3 minutes. What do you say, Mr. Lowry?
Sound like a plan.
All right, folks, y'all know the drill. Go get you something to drink, grab you some popcorn, tag a friend, text a friend, tell them we're on, tell them to go to Facebook and find us, Bossier Watch, or to YouTube. Find us there, search for us. We'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes.
Just they feel helpless, they don't feel heard, they have nowhere to turn.
In all honesty, we try to lay low a little bit because of the fear that we would not be able to camp there.
And I titled it "A Shot Across the Bow of the Good Old Boys."
Hello, everybody. I don't think I've ever done a video before on here, but yeah, I wanted to tell y'all what frustrates me a little bit about permits.
Cockroach of the week is, drumroll please, Allie Feaster Smith.
We can't be apathetic about what's going on in our state. We have to all pull up our bootstraps and get on top of this. So you're right. There's a problem out there. I mean, and man, you can see it everywhere.
Well, look, we have allowed government to become our wherewithal to everything.
Well, I've not heard my name in stable or Baton Rouge in stable in the same sentence in a long time.
You're about to be killed by a Zamboni, or you're gonna die in 5 minutes.
This Bossier Watch live broadcast is brought to you by Eagle Truck Center, soaring to new heights. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go. Okay, we are back. Can you hear me, Mr. Lowry?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent.
You know,
I always like it when the technology works, when it goes from the countdown to the little intro deal and right into us. That's always a good thing.
I'm still hearing these weird sounds, these weird, musical things in the back of my head that for some reason I've heard before, but now that I'm an Apple guy, I just don't hear those things anymore.
I converted you over to the dark side. Well, let's see if anybody listening. We got about 30 plus people watching. So, folks, I'm going to play a little bit of music here for 20 seconds or whatever, and see if anybody during the show, if you can guess what this is, and if you can, just put it in the comments. So here we go for a second. A little easy listening here. And hopefully we don't get dinged for copyright because I've played more than 10 seconds. All right, so if you can guess what that music is, just put it in the comments. And then I'm going to play one more real quick. One's a little louder. Now we're going back in technology here, folks. Okay, if you can guess what either of those two songs are, put them in the comments, and I'll kind of watch for it, and we'll see if anybody can get it right. You've got to be a tech person. Well, you don't have to be a tech person. A lot of you have heard this before. Okay, so
I can't say because I knew before the show started. You poured that on me, and I failed miserably on both. I didn't even come close. I think one of them I even said maybe that was Enya.
It's kind of close to the first one. It's kind of some easily listening. And, I don't want to get attacked too much, but since I've almost got you converted completely over to the Apple side of things, Apple doesn't have that kind of stuff. Whoops, I just kind of gave a hint. But anyway, all right. So let's get on with the actual Bossier stuff. So what do we got on tap first off?
Well, Well, first thing right out of the gate, looks like I'm showing about 50 people so far. Charlie and Judy East, hello. Thanks for watching tonight. Shane Cheatham, thanks for being here. Fire Dog, Louisiana Fire Dog. I saw him somewhere in here. David Johnson, appreciate you being here watching, guys. Yeah, what did I hear in the background there?
You are hearing the sound of freedom. That one's probably 600-800 feet.
That was a flyby there. They heard us talking earlier.
Yeah, the windows didn't rattle, so he wasn't too low, so that was pretty good.
But I don't think, now look, today I was like surfing around. I mean, there was so much going on. I mean, Manchac was trying to, gin up the dollar train in Bossier City today. And, I was trying to peruse other things, and I came across this picture that was really, really cool. And
yeah. Speaking of flybys and B-52s flying in low.
So everybody in our community should be able to appreciate this picture, but there's a little bit of a story behind this. Now,
wow.
Y'all look at that picture right there.
Is that what I think that is?
Yeah, and that dude was not at the level that just flew over your house.
No, apparently not.
I mean, look at that guy. So there's a story behind this. It was some aeronautical, storyline, and so what they were talking about was this B-52 was somewhere, and it radioed this aircraft carrier, and it says, "Hey, can we do a flyby? Like Tom Cruise and." What was the call sign? Hey, is the pattern clear? Or whatever?
Maverick or whatever.
Yeah, they wanted to do a Maverick thing, but they wanted to do it in a B-52. So, the carrier is like, hey, yeah, that's cool. Come on by. So the B-52's coming in, right? And the carrier radios back and says, hey, that's approved. And the B-52 says, yeah, hey, we're 5 miles out. Carrier radios back and says, all right, hey, we don't see you. They said, B-52 radios back, says, hey, we're about 4 miles out. And the carrier says, hey, we still don't see you. And they said, all right, look low below your deck. Oh, we got you. They were below the deck of the aircraft carrier.
Yeah, low and slow. And, it's kind of amazing because, all joking aside, I mean, they do fly fairly low over the house quite frequently as they're doing their flight patterns or whatever. And it's also cool, like when I'm driving up and down 220 to see them as they're coming in for their landing approach, or whatever you call it. I'm certainly no pilot. But it's really cool to see those planes. And I don't, they kind of fly nose down. You would think that there's no way that they can fly that way, but just awesome planes. Anyway.
Yeah, well, the cool thing with this was the carrier could not see them coming on the horizon, with the paint scheme. I mean, they looked like the ocean. They couldn't see them coming. Yeah. It was freaking awesome. But
yeah.
Anyway, just like that B-52, I mean, Sportran's been flying low, right?
Kind of below the radar the last week or so anyway.
So I think we got a little bit of interesting follow-up information. I mean, I got to tell you, Sportran bores me to death, but A lot of people care about Sportran.
Yeah, they do. Hello there, Jeremy Gallman. Good to see you again since you're running for mayor coming up. But yeah, so back to Sportran. And I'm not going to spend much time on this, but they haven't really been in the news too much really in the last week. But we did get sent some video from, oh my goodness, I don't even have the date in front of me right now. We were going to talk about it last show, but I think it was like maybe 2013 or I don't know, it was quite a while back. But anyway, it was a city council meeting. And David Jones, who watches the show quite a bit and comments and is a former city councilman, was actually making some very similar comments about Sportran back then that he made in a recent city council meeting as a citizen, non-councilman. And a lot of it was the same. They're spending nearly $1 million a year and kind of what were we going to get for it. And then there was a KTBS article run about that, and Sportran mentioned that there were 300,000 Bossier residents that rode the bus. Now, as far as I know, Duke, Bossier has gained population, not lost population in the last decade. How did we go from 300,000 residents, according to Sportran, in a month to the 50, 60,000 we have now?
I don't know. The Bossier City Council today, I think passed some kind of ordinance to pay for some demographer to do something about reapportionment. Maybe they can add an additional thing in there for him to figure out exactly how many riders ride Sportran.
Yeah, we'll share that article out on the Facebook page after the show and all that, just so y'all can go back and look at it. Again, it's a blast from the past type deal, but, it's kind of that same song, 50th verse, could get better, going to get worse. And there was a video on the My Bossier blog as well. Remember Jim Wells? I think we mentioned Jim a couple of times on the show before.
Jim Wells, and what Jim used to do was similar to what we did. James Welburn, Jim Wells. There's a lot of folks that came before us talking about the inside politics of Bossier and things that went on, and maybe talking about a lot of subjects that makes people uncomfortable and they don't want people talking about in public. Well, we're following in their shadow. And Jim Wells had it on Bossier. What was it?
Bossier Now.
Bossier Now?
Or I'm sorry, not Bossier Now. Bossier Now is Hal. He's the one that got mad. No, I'm sorry, My Bossier. So, and as a matter of fact, I was pretty good friends with Jim there for the last few years of his life, and we used to talk actually quite often. And you're right, he was one of the inspirations for us doing this. So, speaking of things going on, why don't we go ahead and intro our guest, who is, I think he's still waiting in the wings over there. Let me look and see here. Yeah, I think he's still sitting there. So why don't you kind of intro, and I'll flip screens and we'll have him on and we'll get started with that.
Yeah, so this is a guy that I have known for a lot of years. Good grief, I've lost count of how many years I've known him, and I've always known him to be on the right side of things. He's a God-fearing Christian man. If you die tomorrow, and if anybody says that you're a God-fearing Christian man, that's a good thing, right. Jesen? But
thank you for the kind words, Duke.
Jesen has always been on the right side of things. I've worked with Jesen down at the Republican Party, and he's always been on the right side of things. He's been involved with a lot of movers and shakers in the political world, and influencing things. And now he's in a different role, and he is with Louisiana Right to Life, right, Jesen?
Yes, I've been blessed to take the interim North Louisiana directorship. There was an opening. They had actually broached me a few years ago, and that didn't happen. But I was glad to step in and serve this critical time.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show this evening, Duke. If you don't mind, and Jesen, we've got a couple of quick, about a minute of video from that I pulled from the Right to Life page, and we'll.
Well, Rex, hold up a second.
Okay.
Before we go there, let's take a walk down memory lane here, and I'm also going to tug at Jensen's heartstrings a little bit.
Here we go.
Because it sort of tugs at mine, and it's something that Bossier watched, something that we did early on. But Jesen, Rex, you don't know this, but Jesen was very tied into the Luke Letlow campaign and with Luke.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
And Jesen, I don't know if you realize it, but about a week before Luke passed, Luke did an interview with us on, our show, kind of when we were just first getting started.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, I know that was hard for you to move on from the Letlows to doing what you're doing, but, I'm interested to hear some comments from you about, Luke and there in the end.
I recruited Luke in the dorm room at Louisiana Tech in the Louisiana Tech College Republican Club. So I've known him for a number of years. It was, you never imagine what happened. It was bizarre, surreal, but we did the right thing in getting his widow, Julia Letlow, elected, and grateful to have been to have have done that and been able to do that in the first round, but had made the decision the night of his funeral that I would not be staying in a role working for Congress. Luke had recruited me to come work for Congressman Abraham, so it was a the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 is a time period I'll never forget. And Luke actually, one of his last acts, he was the Richland Parish chairman for the Love Life Amendment that passed in 2020. So he was faithfully serving right to life issues, and he was faithfully, it's just, I don't know what else to say, but
he was in the fight right up to the end.
He's in heaven watching down on us today, and we've just got to continue to fight and to lead where we can. He used to say, "Win the day," and that is something that I will never forget. Every day we got to just get up and figure out how we're going to win the day.
Yeah, and
Saturday we have a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but out of that tragedy, his wife Julia is now a congresswoman, and she seems to be leading the fight where Luke, left off, so to speak, and so that's a good thing as well.
Julia's great.
All right, Rex. Sorry to throw that curveball in there, but I just couldn't. It just popped in my head, and I was like, you know what? If we didn't mention Luke Letlow, and because I know, there's this connection between Luke and Jesen, and I know that a lot of people doesn't know that. And I really wanted to make sure that we heard what Jesen had to say in regards to Luke and just get a few comments on that. But the video that you had queued up, that was the starting point for Louisiana Right to Life, and to talk about that.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just play these videos for a second, just for those of you watching. And like I said, we're at about 50 some odd people across both Facebook channels as well as both YouTube channels. So I'll roll this video if I can find the right button here. And then we'll come back, and Jesen, we'll start talking about Right to Life. And let's roll out.
We believe in a future of hope, a future where every life is welcomed with love and protected by law.
A future where the needs of mothers are met and adoption is celebrated.
A future where persons with disabilities and our elders are respected and valued.
A future where the rights of all, even the smallest among us, are paramount.
So whether with the youth, at the Capitol, on the streets, or in our communities, we make a difference.
And we will never let violence stop us from building a future of hope.
We are Louisiana Right to Life, and we
are
proudly pro-life.
From a production and video standpoint, nice video, by the way.
Thank you. We have a great team that does that, and actually one of the people that was featured in that video, Alex Sagers, is going to be with us in Shreveport Bossier, which I'm really grateful that our director of education will be up here on Saturday.
Cool.
So Jesen, the reason we asked you to come on was because this weekend we've got, the Louisiana Right to Life's got a big event coming up. And, I think it's hard to believe, but I think maybe that there's people that don't know what's going on, and maybe people don't know, maybe even they don't know a lot about the movement. They don't know a lot about the march, what it stands for, and we thought, you know what? Hey, what a great opportunity to get somebody on to talk about the subject, and let's promote it a little bit. So, what's happening Saturday?
So Saturday, we actually have 3 marches going on Saturday. Grateful for the one here in Bossier and Shreveport, that we're going to march from the grassy area next to the boardwalk for life across the Texas Street Bridge and over to First United Methodist Church to Shreveport. We'll have a short program in Bossier, and then we will have a good solid program in Shreveport. And we are standing up for life, standing up for the unborn, and looking forward to a post-Roe Louisiana, truthfully. And we are just thrilled to be doing it here. We're also the same day we have one going on in Baton Rouge and one in Lake Charles, and then Sunday we do one in West Monroe area, and then on 2 weeks later we do one down in Rapides Parish. So it's finding our supporters statewide. It's a great time to be energized with other fellow pro-life folks, and we're honored to be able to do this. The DC March is happening on Friday. Congresswoman Letlow, who you just talked about, is actually going to be one of the featured speakers up in DC this year for that march. We're thrilled to be down here, serving in Shreveport, Bossier this week.
Well, I've got a question. So, full disclosure, of course, I support, the Right to Life movement 100%, but I've never gone down and done one of the marches. Shame on me. But I've never gone down and done one of the marches. But let me ask you this. So, kind of what's the goal of these marches? I mean, what is the purpose of them? Why do a march? What does that accomplish? Specifically here in Shreveport and Bossier.
One of the things it allows folks who may not know their friends are pro-life, they may not, they have an opportunity to actually engage. We will have ministry tables when we get over to Shreveport with several of the local pregnancy clinics, some of the local other pro-life organizations. But it's a way to just show your support for life. There's not very many. This is the largest gathering of pro-life people in Northwest Louisiana, and it's also great when we have to go ask legislators or members of Congress for support for pro-life legislation. They know we're having these rallies back in their home areas, and it really, having a great many people show up helps us deliver that message every year when Louisiana legislature comes back into session and we need to pass pro-life legislation.
Yeah, well, that's a great segue, and folks, y'all have heard us talk about this many times on the show. Even with city council meetings, police jury meetings, anything like that, we always try to encourage everybody, look, butts in seats matter. Numbers matter. And so you brought up a good point there that honestly I didn't even think about, that when y'all go to introduce legislation and try to convince these legislators and that sort of thing, that being able to have a show of force and video or pictures of a lot of people in support of this, that's the perfect reason to do those. So honestly, I hadn't even thought about that when I asked the question.
Yeah, and truthfully, so far we still get some pretty bipartisan support on a lot of things we do. I'm not going to say I don't know what the future holds, but we are grateful at Louisiana Right to Life to be able to work with people that may be all over the spectrum on a lot of other issues, but at the core they understand that a child is a child, and that child needs to be protected.
And so you mentioned also, marching at D.C. or whatever as well. So apparently I think I've heard that we have kind of an important case somewhere up there around the Supreme Court here recently, don't we?
We do, and it came the case out of the Dobbs case out of Mississippi. We actually in Louisiana have if Dobbs is ruled correctly, our law will change to Mississippi's, or if the Supreme Court goes ahead and rightfully overturns Roe v. Wade, obviously we already have trigger laws in Louisiana. Part of that is because we've had good legislators that have in the past who have passed legislation so that we are ready for a post-Roe Louisiana, and we are also, but that we are also thrilled that we are ready. We're looking forward to what we believe is going to be a win of some sort. We don't know how the Supreme Court's going to rule. You need to continue to pray for our Supreme Court, and we expect that ruling around June. We don't know exactly when that ruling will come. It could be May, it could be a few days here or there, but we're looking forward to it based on what we heard out of the Dobbs case, and truthfully, what we saw the Supreme Court do with a Texas case that they with a case out of Texas. We were also encouraged by that by their actions as well there.
Yeah, and Duke, I don't want to hog the mic, so just chime in at any time. But it's kind of interesting. I hadn't researched the current case very closely, but I always try to relate things to the Second Amendment. And one of the problems we've had in the past with court cases with the Second Amendment is sometimes people file lawsuits and they don't strategize real well. Then you have groups like in the Second Amendment case, the Second Amendment Foundation, and their whole reason for being pretty much is to structure lawsuits correctly and time them correctly with the correct people to get the rulings that we need to have to reverse some of these issues. It seems to me that this case that's currently in front of SCOTUS has kind of followed that same vein. We've had some cases before that potentially could have overturned Roe v. Wade, but they didn't, and maybe the timing is right and the case is right this time to, I don't know, when was Roe v. Wade? 74, was it?
73.
73. Okay.
We feel good. I mean, we haven't felt this good, about this case is one we feel really exceptionally well about where it's going.
Right.
And truthfully, the Supreme Court, in there, if you listen to their the questions they ask, we feel really good.
Yeah. All right, Duke.
Well, so this weekend, everyone can show their support, and they can come out. And where do they need to go? Where do they need to meet? Where do they need to park to participate? In the march. What do they do?
So at about 9:45, we're having people gather right next to the boardwalk in the grassy area. They'll go park on the third or on some of the upper floors of the boardwalk parking lot, and then right at 10 we will start the program, and a few minutes after that program on the Bossier side starts, we will start marching over to Shreveport, and that's what time you will what time we will roll. I would encourage people to get there a little early if they want to. We're more than happy to meet with them. We'll be out there, and we're thrilled to be doing this in Bossier and Shreveport.
Now you have some speakers lined up, I think, and if I recall correctly, there's one in particular that she is becoming a rock star.
Assistant Attorney General Liz Murrill, who's a specialist in arguing cases. We were thrilled to get her up. We were thrilled to get her to come to Shreveport Bossier, and provide the real. I am not a lawyer. I provide some of that analysis and provides just the wisdom that she brings to the table. Was thrilled that she was available to come to Shreveport Bossier, and we're very happy to have her come speak.
Yeah, and a lot of folks may not realize it or not, but isn't it correct that she was one of the folks that argued the case before the Supreme Court here in the last couple of weeks over the vaccine mandates?
She's been heavily involved in a lot of cases that the Attorney General has been involved in. She is I believe she is the go-to for the Attorney General in a lot of federal cases, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm very close to the fact that you're right on that, Duke. Just because I didn't unfortunately, I've been busy going back and forth between Shreveport Bossier and our march in Monroe, West Monroe. So I knew that I'm about 98% sure you're right, but I'm not 100% sure, and I don't want to lead your listeners, your viewers wrong. But I'm pretty sure if they Google it, they will find it.
Well, no worries. That's why they call this a show. This is entertainment. You can be wrong with entertainment.
And occasionally we have to correct ourselves.
You've known me for years, Duke. If I don't 100% know an answer, I will tell you, Duke, I don't 100% know an answer. I'm only like 95% sure you're correct, but I'm about 95 to 99% sure you're correct on this one.
Yeah, well, everybody watching, we would encourage you to go out and participate, Saturday in the Right to Life March. Meet down at the boardwalk, park in the parking garage. They'll have a stage, I'm sure, out there kind of in that little grassy knoll right there at the intersection. They'll have speakers. It'll be a great event. You'll get to march over the bridge. And you know what? Take your kids. I mean, you need to get your kids and have that discussion with your kids. Your kids are growing up. They're going to become adults. They need to understand about this issue. And this is a great way to expose your kids to this subject matter and to be able to have that discussion. And, it's a great family event. I've done it. In fact, the last time I done it, A.G. Landry, ironically, was there, but it was cold that day we did it. My goodness, it was freezing cold. I didn't want to walk across that bridge because I didn't have enough clothes on. But, I don't know. We'll see how it turns out Saturday.
It could be a little cool Saturday. We want people to come on out. And if people need more information, we encourage them to go to prolifelouisiana.org and or LALifeMarch.com. And if people want to go tell their friends, they can go post on Facebook about it. There's a link. There's a link on the website specifically about the Northwest Louisiana March, and we want people to invite their friends. If they've got relatives and friends in other parts of the state, they want to invite them to those marches, they can do that too. And we are thrilled for that supporters are doing that all across the state, and we're thrilled to be on tonight with the Bossier Watch, and thrilled for the opportunities to talk about this to our friends and colleagues.
Yeah, and I'll make sure after the show and all that, and share out any of the new posts that y'all have on the Right to Life Facebook page. I'll make sure and share them out on Bossier Watch too, and that way we can try to inform as many people as we can. So yeah, we appreciate you coming on tonight and letting us know what's coming up and kind of educating us a little bit on on the Right to Life March.
Thanks, Jesen, for coming on, brother.
Thank you guys, and if you need, definitely feel free to go to prolifelouisiana.org if you need anything else.
All right, appreciate it. Well, you're welcome back on anytime, or if y'all have an event or something you need to get the word out, just let us know, and we'll be glad to have you or anybody else in the group on.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Thanks, Jesen. All right, so where do we go from here?
Well, I'm going to put a little green check box over here beside the Right to Life March, because we have officially covered that.
It is a fun event. I got to tell you, me and Kara and all the kids, we didn't take Bo, so
that could make it really interesting, by the way.
It could have been interesting. Yeah, man, he'd go up there and bite everybody there. But anyway, no, it's a great event. It really is good for kids. And the Red River Bridge is pretty cool walking across there. And if you're physically, impaired, you could use a little exercise. It's not that bad. It really isn't.
Yeah, and they've just gotten through doing a lot of work on the Texas Street Bridge. They've added the new lights, that were, I forget who all donated the lights. Maybe the Red River Waterway Commission, and I know Dr. George Bukowski and his wife Sandy, full disclosure, they're friends and former clients of mine. donated some money to help dress that up. Of course, it'll be during the daytime, but they've redone the bridge, so it's a little bit nicer walking across there, I'm sure. Okay, so now that we've covered that, shall we just go ahead and get into this city council meeting?
Yeah, let's just jump on off into the city of Bossier and the city of the gift that just always keeps on giving. We got 45 people watching. All right, y'all can tell everybody it's Bossier City time. It's time to rumble, or what's anyway. But interestingly, you know what started the city council off today?
Well, there's no telling. So clue us in.
Well, it was on Restream. It was none other than a school board member.
Wait, what?
A school board member.
So the school board members are now invading the city council. It's like cross-contamination.
It's cross-contamination. I mean, Adam Bass shows up at the Bossier City Council meeting, and I mean, I'm like in Bizarro world. And what does he want to talk about? He wants to talk about Sportran.
Well, that's hilarious. All right, so I'm getting this queued up where we can do the video. So.
Did you hear what I just said?
I heard something about Adam Bass and Sportran.
No, okay. So everybody watching, you had a Bossier Parish school board member show up to a Bossier City Council meeting to talk about Sportran.
Well, that's interesting. Now, I'm trying to remember. It seems like there's a tie-in with Sportran and the school board. And by the way, Adam is my school board member. And he didn't, of course, I wouldn't expect him to, but he didn't even let me know he was going there to talk about Sportran. What? So
I don't know that he let anybody know. I think he just did a
up.
drive-by. He just did a drive-by.
We're going into Rush Limbaugh territory with the drive-by media. Now we have the drive-by school board members.
And then he goes and anoints the city attorney to be the attorney general.
What?
I mean, look, I'm not making this up. Just play the video. Show it. Just play it.
Okay, so let me make sure we got audio. Here we go.
This is Adam Bass. My address is 324 Paris Place, Bossier City, Louisiana, 71111. First of all, thank you for letting me speak, President Williams, Council, Ms. Phyllis, and Attorney General, Mr. Jacobs. I came to speak
wait a
today
minute. I gotta pause.
I believe there was
Stop.
a study.
I gotta pause there.
You thought I was making that up, didn't you?
I thought you were kidding, but he straight up did call him the Attorney General. Now, maybe I should cut Adam some slack. I actually like Adam. He's actually a pretty good guy, but maybe he just had a little slip of the tongue, or maybe he's just trying to elevate him right on up to the AG's office. I mean, think of all the Zambonis he could have in Baton Rouge.
All I know is now that we know he's anointed him to the Attorney General and he's your school board member, I expect you to talk to him about those public information requests that have been dragging on for months from the new AG that we don't get any response. Maybe your school board guy can get something done about that. I'm just wondering.
Well, here's the only challenge. We already know that as the city attorney, he doesn't really read contracts. Do we really expect him to read them once he's down in Baton Rouge as the AG?
I think they're planning on relocating the AG seat to Bossier City, right there next to King David.
We need to put Jeff in the seat beside King David. That would be awesome.
I think Adam has just anointed, him to be the AG right there on the council. But anyway.
All right, so
I
was going to ask you, do we need to roll on with this? So here we go.
Study that was done by the school board around some bus stops on Barksdale Boulevard. I know there has been a lot of discussion about Sportran recently. I think that those studies may be helpful to you guys in making your determination. I just wanted to make sure that as I looked at the minutes of some past meetings as a citizen, to make y'all aware of that in case you would need to use it in your decision. I don't know if y'all are planning to do a study to analyze anything else for public transportation and Sportran, but should y'all choose to do a study, I believe that may be a good resource for you. So I don't know if that's appropriate to put on the agenda now, or if you would need to do a resolution for a future date, but I wanted to make sure that as a citizen I stood up and made sure I made you guys aware of that. So.
Yeah, there's nothing on the agenda for the Sportran at this time, so if the council chooses to, they'd have to do a resolution at a later time or an ordinance to appropriate money to do a study.
Or we could also do a resolution to take
Whoa.
into account or to consider or
Now-
to submit the,
I hate to pause that because that's the new AG speaking.
The AG is speaking, but I want to go back just a little bit. Let's hold up a second here.
Okay.
So tell me something. He recognized the council president. He recognized the new AG. Who of importance there did he not recognize?
Well, okay, so this is going to be really mean, but it's my normal comment. Was there somebody else of importance actually there?
Well, I mean,
that was mean.
I'm just wondering. I mean, was Tommy Chandler there? Because
Oh,
he
you were
damn
talking
sure-
about Tommy. Gosh, I would have never thought of that.
He did not recognize Tommy Chandler. I'm just wondering, is Adam Bass planning on throwing his name in the hat for mayor the next time around? Because he obviously did not recognize Tommy Chandler.
Well, Jeremy Gallman, if you're watching, and again, Jeremy's a good friend of mine and all that, but Jeremy, looks like you might have some competition for mayor there, bud. So, you know.
You got some competition flowing there. I mean, he's already anointing the city attorney to be the AG. I mean, I'm thinking the city attorney's going to be voting for Adam Bass.
Yeah, I didn't even catch. I just assumed Tommy wasn't there. He was not paying attention or asleep or whatever. So, all right. So, do we need to listen to?
Nah, we ain't gonna listen to Adam no more. But the point was Adam was pointing out that, hey, you know, the school board's crossed this bridge a little bit in the past and done some studies, and I think he was saying that basically they had some studies that, you know, they could turn over to the city to shed a little light on the subject of what was you talking about earlier, 300,000 and
Yeah,
funny
300,000
numbers
people.
with
I mean,
Sportran or.
maybe it was a typo, but I don't think so because later on they mentioned that there was like 10,000 citizens a month or I don't know, something. Anyway, so I don't really think it was a typo. I think they just were blowing up the numbers ridiculously. But to summarize this, so Adam came in as a private citizen, not necessarily as a school board member, although he kind of fuzzed that line a little bit, but basically to let the city council know there are some school board studies that they might need to do a resolution to look into as they're making their decision on how much more to subsidize Sportran.
As the bullet points out, he did recognize Phyllis. I mean, see, he does know who's boss.
Exactly. Yes.
He does. You know, but the Sportran thing, I mean, David Jones, I mean, did you watch that video that we got?
The one from the last city council meeting or the one from years past?
Well, from years past, you know, and basically it was during a year when, you know, and if you're a fireman and policeman and you remember that there were budget cuts and layoffs and all of that, and to David Jones's credit, you know, that was the council meeting that we got, the video that we got.
Right.
You know, you had people that were advocating for layoffs, but yet during that same time, you had this excessive amount of money being sent to Sportran, and arguably you could have kept that money and not had the layoffs that you had within the police and fire department. You could have kept your staffing of public safety, but you chose buses over public safety.
Yeah, and that's a good point because, you know, in watching that video, and I'm kind of scrambling here trying to see if I can go back and find it. We'll play a few seconds if I can. But yeah, David did make a good point that his reasoning wasn't to deny people public transportation, and I'm paraphrasing here and ad-libbing with it, but that it was, hey, we could spend this money where we really need it, which is, you know, fire and police and first responders. So
now we're going to have to go back. We haven't went back and looked, but we're going to have to go back and look at the councilman who voted, you know, to support or oppose measures like that? Who are the ones that supported laying all these folks off when you had other alternative ideas to address those problems, meaning dealing with the Sportran numbers? I mean, I'm going to be interested to see the answer to that.
Yeah, we need to dig that video and maybe in a future show. Like I said, I'm scrambling trying to find it from last week or week before, and so far having zero luck at the moment. But yeah, there were definitely some city councilmen who were opposed and actually voted to diminish, for lack of a better term, diminish the role of our first responders in town. And so, of course, that's a whole other can of worms right there.
Yeah. Now, let's segue a little bit. We've done. I don't know.
We're beating the bus horse to death again.
Yeah, let's get off the bus. I
Right.
mean, do we want to keep going down the road for Manchac, or do we want to real quick? Do we want to jump off on the Barksdale Air Force Base gate, and then come back to Bossier City Council?
Yeah, let's
What
do
you
that.
wanna do?
We'll go ahead and get the gate out of the way. We'll just give everybody a zigzag path tonight. So yeah, let's go over the gate situation because
Now,
that's
last
kind of
show,
easy to run down. Yeah.
Yeah, last show, we talked about the Barksdale Air Force Base gate. Talked about where's the funding. Talked about the Armed Services Committee and money that comes to it. And it was brought to our attention that funding had been secured for that gate, so that we were wrong in our reporting on that, as well as the fact that Mike Johnson is now on Armed Services Committee. And so we did a little bit of checking, and as it would turn out, guess what? He is on Armed Services now.
Yes, he is.
He wasn't before.
Okay.
But he is now.
All right,
So
now-
we were wrong. And then we also checked on this funding thing. Well, media reports say that it's funded.
They do
But-
say that it's funded, but then we got some messages, let's just put it that way, that, well, wait a minute. Just because something's funded doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen within our lifetimes. And so there were some questions raised. Hey, when's the ribbon cutting going to be? They've they're making insane progress on the entranceway to Barksdale, but they don't actually have a way to get from that nice new entranceway road into Barksdale, short of, I guess, hopping the fence or whatever, and, well, they might get shot doing that. So there's this issue still going on with the gate. And even back in July, I think June and July of this year, there were news reports that, yes, this was an issue because they anticipated the cost to be, I don't know what it was, X amount of dollars, and then it was going to end up being like double or triple because of all the security. And so they had to try to get more money appropriated and so on and so forth. And so then, last week I jumped the gun a little bit based on a couple of phone calls I got from some people.
Well, maybe you
Anyway.
didn't just completely jump the gun, because here's the
Right.
thing. There was no money appropriated. I mean, at least not until December 27th of 2021.
Yeah,
Now,
I wasn't too far off. Now, in full disclosure,
I may be wrong, but that's less than a month ago, right?
yes, in full disclosure, after the last show, when I just kind of threw that in there out of left field, got messages immediately after the show. Hold on a minute. They did get it. Was signed into the bill that Biden signed and all that. So sure enough, 10 o'clock, I'm Googling. I think you had texted me too or something. Anyway, I'm Googling and looking it up. And sure enough, the money is quote unquote there, but there's like no other movement.
Well, wait a minute. Not so fast, Dano.
Let me see if I got a little sound effect for brakes here. Put the brakes on.
Not-
Rewind.
Yeah,
Here
not
we go.
so fast.
Okay. There we go.
So when all of y'all watching, when you hear money is appropriated, I mean, what do you think? I think when they say money is appropriated, I'm thinking that, okay, I'm looking down the road and I'm saying, all right, I'm looking for that truck that's coming with all them shovels so we can start turning that dirt, baby. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm wrong.
Or at least they're in the planning stage of it, or whatever the scenario is. That's the way most of us would think.
I am a cockroach and I am classed in the crazy group, right? So,
right, yeah.
So we had to do a little research of our own. So we dug into the National Defense Authorization Act of 2022. And, as it would turn out, there's a lot of good information in there. And while that one right there is really small and like you'd have to be Superman to be able to read it.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, tell everybody what it says. You're right. It's a little fuzzy and a little small. We understand, folks, but hold on. We'll let you know the important parts of it.
Yeah, that just basically lays out the states and the amounts of monies that, per states or what have you. And interestingly, the number in this chart, Louisiana is like, if not the top, it's at close to the top as far as, defense spending. There's a lot of money there.
Right.
So, moving right along, so you're asking, is there money or is there not? Go to the next cut.
All right, coming up.
Was there money for the gate or was there not? Well, all right, right here on page 1983 of the NDAA of 2022, you'll see, I think this one's correct. Yeah. No, this was for the Army. And you see 2 for Fort Polk.
Right.
One, you see the first one there, 55,000. The other one, and that number, it's not 55,000. It says 1,000, but that's not 55,000. It's got to be more than that.
Right.
But then the other one, you see fiscal year in that column, fiscal year 2022 requested, and you see a big fat zero. House agreement, 54,000 and the zero. Now, I don't read these things. Maybe our resident colonel that watches our show, who probably knows these things, David Crockett, can sound off on that. But what that means, but what I think that means is that the Army didn't request it. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. They didn't request it, but then the House agreement, it was an additional thing they added on.
Yeah, the House just said, hey, here's, $56 million or whatever it is.
We'll just add it on there. And you know what? If it makes the final cut, it makes it. If it doesn't or whatever. But what the actual entity requests, they actually put it in there. I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain that. Right. So, but keep going. We're going to get to the Barksdale Gate. And this is where it gets interesting.
So let's move to cut 3 here. Oh, and again, folks, we know this is kind of tiny and hard to read, so don't worry about it. We'll kind of walk you through what's here.
And then in this one, you'll see Louisiana kind of down towards the bottom.
Yep, Louisiana. There's 2 references to Barksdale Air Force Base. One is for a weapons generation facility. Looks like INC Inc. 1 or something. And the second entry is for New Entrance Road and Gate Complex. And that's got to be in millions because it's 36. 36 comes, it's got to be in millions.
Right. But you see right there to the left in that left-hand column.
Oh, yeah, that's a big fat zero.
FY 2022 requested.
Right. Yeah.
There's a big fat zero.
Now, wait a minute. That column is, and for those of you, listening to the podcast version of this as we release those and all that, the column we're talking about is for the Barksdale Gate, the new gate to be able to use the new access road, entrance road that's being built from I-20. The zero is in the FY 2022 request. So that looks to me like the money wasn't actually requested.
I don't know. Maybe, here's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is that what happens is that, the military requests for projects, and then it goes to the Congress, and then the Congress, all these congressmen and everybody that want, to beat their chest and say, I did this or I did that or whatever. They put all these amendments in there and put these little projects in there. And then, it goes through the process. And then at the end of the day, they get a big fat zero for the ones that are actually going to make the cut and have to get done or don't get done. And I think that's the case in this one. I'm not saying that it would be only just Johnson. There would be a ton of congressmen, because there's a ton of these that have zeros all put in there. But either way, because it got put in the paperwork, you get to go out there and beat your chest and say, oh, I secured funding. And nothing's going to happen. So the state of Louisiana just built this interchange, or got this thing built across the interstate to tie into there, and nothing's going to happen.
Well, and so that would kind of lend credence to the initial information that we got. And look, in full disclosure, the folks who reached out are no fans of Mike Johnson, really. And look, Mike's done some good things, and, look, there's no doubt about it. You can go back to my Facebook timeline. I was a supporter of Mike Johnson back in the day. Duke, you were as well. You've known him a lot longer than I have, but this just seems to me like one of those, oops, we forgot the money for the gate kind of things. And then, oh my goodness, everybody scramble last summer and let's try to get this money appropriated so we don't look like imbeciles with a nice road and, well, no way to get in the base.
Or maybe it's the quintessential. Did you ever see that movie with Dustin Hoffman, Wag the Dog? Did you ever see that?
I don't think I ever did.
Well, and it was talking about politics, and it was making fun of Wag the Dog in the public. You put on this persona and you let everybody believe and see what they think is real, and in reality, it's not real. I mean, you see the big fat zero. It's right there. Maybe we're reading it wrong. We could be. We're amateur journalists here, but we looked it up. There's a zero there. So I don't know that there's funding or not. I don't think there's no funding. I see a zero.
Well, now supposedly it went into some committee and made it through, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. And I'm certainly no expert either on, the final versions of bills and what gets signed into law, et cetera, so on and so forth. So, look, if some of you are much more well-versed at this than we are, then point it out and correct us where we're wrong, but the math doesn't lie, and this is a zero. So assuming that this is, excuse me if I can talk, if this is a recent version of this, and I'm assuming it probably is when you looked it up today, why is there a zero there? Even if the money has been appropriated, but the check hasn't hit the bank account of Louisiana yet, why was that money never requested? That is the question. Was somebody flying around on the Trump plane too much and forgot to request the money for the gate?
I don't know. That buff was below the flight deck is what I'm thinking. I don't know. But speaking of money in Bossier City, money was flying around like turds in a 4-inch pipe flowing across a bayou on some benign street in Bossier City.
We are going to new areas, folks. We're now literally talking about raw sewage. So
we are pumping sewage in 4-inch pipes in Bossier City, and I've got pictures to prove it.
If you want to show those, don't forget to send them over to me or whatever, or we could do a screen share here in a second. Okay, I've completely lost my train of thought between the comments between raw sewage and forgetting to fund a gate until the last minute. What a show tonight, folks. Where are we headed?
All right. I sent you the one picture again real quick that got sent to me. But anyway, so how many of y'all watched the council meeting today? Because a lot of people, I don't think anybody was paying attention. But I will tell you, and here we go, Chris Smith and his new cohort, they were actually, I think, paying attention in this council meeting today.
Really?
And yeah, and nobody, I'm getting a little bit of a head. You know,
Right.
on our restream video, there was a point that I wanted to make. You know, and these ladies that came up here in the council meeting today, they came up. They're demolishing houses for $10,000. They're taking bids for $10,000 demolishing houses. We take bids to demolish and spend $10,000, but when we start talking about millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, oh no, that we're professional services. We can't do no bids on anything of that.
Wait,
You know,
isn't there a
amount of
famous
money.
Bossier City Council quote? What was that quote? We something. We don't do something.
We don't.
What
don't
don't we
get-
do in this
we-
town? Help us out,
we
folks,
don't-
in the comments.
we
What
don't
don't
get
we
takeout.
do?
We don't get takeout.
Yeah, maybe that was it. We don't get takeout. I can't remember what that quote was.
I
But
mean, our
anyway.
our turds don't float.
That's the new quote. Oh, thank you, David Jones. Yes, we don't shop, and I would assume we don't shop around for toilets either and sewage lines, but that's a whole other ballgame. Okay, so all right, so I've got this queued up. Shall we go ahead and hit play and see what this taking bids is for demolishing
Nah, you don't
houses?
have to go there. But
Okay.
that was just the point. The point in the council meeting when these folks were taking the bids on demolishing these houses, and we're talking about $10,000. And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, holy crap! You know, y'all literally are, you know, killing trees and taking time to hear bids on $10,000. But when you start talking about multi-million-dollar projects and you start talking about multi-million-dollar investments, you don't bid crap. You don't bid crap. You're not worried about if you lose $1 million, but by gosh, if you lose $100, the world's coming to an end in Bossier City.
Well, you want me to tell you why? So
Oh
I'm,
my gosh.
So I'm switching out of coy mode into Rex is going to get on his soapbox mode here in a second. But it's real simple. It's a whole lot easier to hide money inside of $1 million than it is inside of $10,000 or $1,000 or $100 for that matter. Now, I'm not saying any of our city councilmen are doing anything illegal or unethical or anything like that. I'm just saying in theory, folks. Okay. See, that was a short soapbox.
That was a short soapbox. Well, cue up to the next mark, and we're going to jump straight into pumping turds across country.
Well, we are just going to new lows here. All right, here we go.
This is Bossier Watch. We are raw. We are unfiltered. I mean, well, it is raw. It is unfiltered.
And here we go.
New business. Introduce an ordinance to amend Ordinance 17 of 2021 to replace the Bruce Street Force Main, adding $195,000 to come from the Sewer Capital and Contingency Fund to cover all project costs, and authorizes the city to enter into a contract with David Lawler Construction, Inc. for completion of work. First reading.
Wait a minute. Let me pause there for just a second. That's adding $195,000. Is this or whatever it was? Is this the infamous one where it started out at like 95,000 and now it's ballooning up?
Oh yeah, you got that one right. You got that one right. So,
well, we might actually get some fireworks out of the city council today. I'm legitimately interested to see the fireworks coming up.
All right, so cue the sparklers.
Okay, here we go. You want me to just hit play here or jump to the 29?
Hit play and let it roll, and then we're going to feed it in here afterwards. Y'all better be holding on to your seat for this one.
This is
you're gonna be
fireworks
mad
at the city. Yeah, y'all are going to be mad that y'all missed going to this meeting. Here we go.
Council, any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions real quick. Has this project already started?
Rut and Buck to the rescue.
Construction.
Okay. Because I pulled up, when I was looking at it, I pulled up Ordinance 17 of 2021. And the wording in that made it sound like it was kind of important to get done, so I didn't know if we had started it yet.
Very, very important. What's held us up is property acquisition. We had to acquire several utility servitudes. We're relaying the force main to that lift station, and so that just took
time. A long time. Gotcha. And I guess my only other concern is the addition of $195,000 Specifically, let me see, let me pull it up here so I say the right numbers. In the original ordinance, it was for 95,000, correct? And it
Now-
said in here that was
Shall I pause it?
enough to
Yeah.
If you want to pause there and go to cut 5, we'll show y'all what Chris Smith is talking about. 'Cause we
Okay.
went and looked it up and we pulled cuts.
Yeah.
And in 2021, this problem or this thing came up, and it was brought before the council, and an ordinance was passed, and bids were taken, and it was basically 95,000. Is that cut 5?
That is cut 5. It's a little hard to read, so I'm gonna let me kind of roll through it real quick for those that are just listening only. So this is an ordinance 17 of 2021 approved 95,000 to come from the sewer capital and contingency fund to be used for replacing and rerouting the existing force main into a more direct path that will simplify maintenance and operation of the station. And whereas planning blah 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 are complete, and whereas bids for construction were collected and David Lawler Construction Inc. submitted a low bid of $125,000. And this is the important part, folks, here to listen to. And whereas an additional $195,000 from the Sewer Capital and Contingency Fund is needed to cover construction and related project costs. And now for thereby be it resolved and rather concession blah 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 authorize the mayor to appropriate $195,000. Okay. So, how did we jump so far?
Well, actually, there is another one in cut 6 that
Okay.
I think that you need to go to, and the specific point here and what you guys need to read, and the explanation of proposal, and it says this ordinance. That may be right. That may not be the right one.
Okay.
All right. But no, it's not the right one. In the original $95,000 one, I don't have the cut right. It actually said that surveys, all the engineering, all those things were included in the $95,000. All of it was inclusive. It was all inside that price.
I think this will probably be it right here. Yeah, it says public utilities face significant challenges over the last several weeks, blah, 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 working to unblock the force main that services the Bruce Street pump station. Currently, the station is being bypassed. The proposed project will replace and reroute the existing force main into a more direct path that will simplify maintenance operation. The total project cost is $95,000. The total project cost is $95,000. And this includes engineering, survey, easement acquisition, and related project expenses as necessary to complete the project. This work was unanticipated. Therefore, we're recommending the use of sewer contingency fund. This project will enhance public utilities' ability to service this area. This is dated January 26 of 2021. So basically, 1 year ago, signed by or sponsored by Pam Glorioso, then CAO, and recommended by former Mayor Low Walker.
Yeah, and so that was what Chris was talking about. I mean, one shot, $95,000. A year ago, $95,000 was going to take care of everything on this whole deal. But all of a sudden, today, here we are, 1 year later, and something different. Now,
right.
Don't take our word for it. In fact, when that 95,000, and let me see here, there was actually an invoice was attached.
You talking about the budget?
From Manchac.
Yeah. Let me try to see if I can see
Cut 9.
Cut 9 coming up. Hold on, just a second here. Let's see. Let me get out of there and let's bring cut 9 up. Bear with us, folks. We were scrambling to get notes and files ready. All right, here's cut 9. This is a project cost estimate dated January 20th of 2020.
Now that is incorrect.
Okay.
It was actually the 2021. That was a clerical
Okay.
error on that
Okay.
number. I mean, but I would argue if they don't know what date they're in, I mean, how can we expect their other numbers to be right? But I digress. It was actually January 20th, 2021.
Okay, so yeah, overlooking the typo on the year, this is basically the estimate to correspond to that ordinance authorizing $95,000 to come from the sewer contingency fund to fix or reroute this sewer main. Correct?
Correct.
That's basically it, right? Okay.
That's it. Now I would point out down here in the bottom part of this, you see survey and easement, $7,900 basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, design, $3,700.
Right.
And you also see engineering services and resident inspection, $4,900. Remember that number.
Okay.
Engineering services and resident inspection,
Okay.
$4,900.
Okay.
Now, today we got this amendment, and we need to go to the other cut. I think it's going to be cut 7. I don't know how these got so screwed up.
Okay, here we go. And again, folks, realize this is a little hard to read, so we'll be, discussing the numbers here. All right, so this is a much bigger project budget tracking sheet for the Bruce Street Force Main. And yeah, Duke, so these numbers look a lot bigger.
A whole lot bigger. In fact, in addition to the contractor who is going to be now charging $125,000, you've also got an invoice from Manchac to the tune of $156,000.
Additional
156. Yes, that's right. You heard me.
Okay. Wow.
So remember me talking about resident inspection a while ago, and on that other one, 1 year ago, or $95,000 total to do the job, inspection, engineering, right away, all those different things. Mm-hmm. Now remember resident inspection, it even included something else, and it was like $4,900. Well,
yeah, $49.55, I think it was, or something like that. But yeah.
Well, if y'all can look at that, 4 lines down, resident inspection, $45,000.
Oh, wow. Well, they must have forgot some zeros on the last one.
So, and look down here, bypass pumping efforts, $50,000. So what we've been doing is, you heard me joking, out of a 4-inch line pipe, we've been pumping turds out of a pump and a hose for the past year. Now, remember emergency. Remember we were talking about earlier that a year ago this was an emergency.
Right.
But apparently it's not that big of an emergency because we're moving sewage as we speak.
Well, and of course, I wasn't sitting at the council meeting, and I'm neither Chris Smith nor Brian Hammonds for sure. But that would have been one of my first deals. Is if it's such an emergency, then why are y'all billing $50,000 a year for this? Why don't we get it fixed, boys?
Engineering, sir. I mean, I'll compare those two things. Go back through our video. Y'all can look at this one from today and look at the other one from that previous council meeting. And you compare those numbers and you see what you think.
Yeah.
Go back to the restream and, everybody has a chance and an opportunity to give an explanation. It almost sounds like, but this is what Chris Smith was talking about. This is what he was looking at when he asked that question. He's wanting to know, how do we go from 95,000 to 280 something plus $1,000? How does an invoice change like that overnight? And I got to tell you, I'm dying to know too.
Well, and Shane Cheatham, former third or one of the three amigos, says if we pay Manchac monthly to the tune of about $150,000 to be the city engineer, why do we have to pay them the additional money on this invoice? Well, that's a very good question, Shane. So, Duke, if you'll just give me about 15 seconds to grab my soapbox one more quick time, I'll tell you why, Shane. Because when you actually read the agreement, they're the project engineers, city engineers, / whatever. They pretty much aren't responsible for jack, but they get paid. And we'll have more about that probably next week, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's like the cushest job ever.
They got contracts that even the city council and the mayor aren't on the agenda or list to be able to know about, okay? And they are not accountable. So if they make a mistake, oh, no. They aren't accountable for nothing, in which we're going to cover that. And here's the thing. If you can have a job that was $95,000 can turn into a $300,000 job within the course of 1 year, with all the jobs that they're doing, what do y'all think is happening on all the other jobs across the city?
Yeah,
this is just one. This is just one in particular that a question was asked about on this meeting. There's no questions asked about all these jobs.
All right, so shall we keep on rolling and listen to Ruttenbuck's / Matthew McConaughey's excuse?
Let's hear it. He's smooth. He's got to have a good answer.
Okay, here we go.
Enough money for the project, which we know the bid came in a little bit higher, but also...
Now, and I want to pause right there. Chris, if you're watching, when you're doing this sort of thing and you're going to get ready to actually try to grill him, even though I know you're trying to be a nice guy, don't give him the answers that he needs. Just don't do that. Don't mention, we know that the estimate came in higher. Let him explain that. All right, here we go.
Also for engineering, survey, easement acquisition, and related project expenses. However, the new invoice of $156,000 from Manchac has engineering for $4,000, a residential inspection for $45,000, right-of-way costs $40,000, bypass pumping efforts $50,000. So just Manchac's miscellaneous service and fees is more than what was originally asked for.
Yeah, and those aren't Manchac's miscellaneous service and fees. So the bypass pumping is not provided by Manchac. We had $50,000 in there. We've been bypassing that station and renting hose and working on pumps now for the last 12 months. So that's done by other providers, not Manchac. Same with the right-of-way acquisition. The city hires a right-of-way specialist as well as appraisers, as well as purchases the property. So the intent of this ordinance is to
Okay, I'm pausing right there for a second. Okay, again, Chris, I appreciate you with your line of questioning here, but that's when you should have interrupted him and said, great. So do you have documentation and details from those third-party service providers and project folks that were actually doing that pumping to justify how it magically came out to an even $50,000? And then just drop the mic and wait for him to say something else. Okay, here we go. Do we want to play any more of this, or where do we want to go?
Well, so context. No, that's not going to work. I can't do that. I'm trying to share a screen so I can put context to show.
Well, I can bring up your screen share.
You got to show them the hose.
Oh, I'm gonna show them the hose as soon as you're ready. We're showing the hose.
Okay.
All right. So
anyway,
let me get the hose going here. Hold on. Let me get rid of these things, and let me get rid of this.
You got the hose. You got the pumps. He's got other service providers that are doing all this. Well, we want to show them what they're getting their money's worth.
Yeah, this is
billing them for.
This is $50,000 right here, folks. Now, granted, Duke, isn't this what, maybe 3,000 feet or something like that? So it's half a mile, a little over half a mile of hose.
Yeah, a little over half a mile of hose, but I mean, we're talking about like a 4-inch hose. They're literally pumping turds out of a lift station and pumping across this ditch up the hill the other side. If you zoom in close, you can see the hose going up the other side.
Yeah, I'm going to cut us out, but I'll zoom in. Folks, if you look over kind of in the upper right third or quarter, you'll see the little line going kind of up the hill and into the trees. That's where the hose loops around, goes through the little slough right there, and then comes up the other side of the hill. Okay.
Yeah, and that's not all. I mean, I sent you some other pictures, of actually the lift pumps and the pumping station, where they're doing all of this work that was sent to us. But here's the thing: they've been doing this for over a year. This was an emergency a year ago, and so we've been sitting here, and they say it's because of easement issues or right-of-way issues. Well, you've got a drainage canal here. You've got utilities here. I mean, there's already an easement there. If you've got a pipeline there, you've already got it. What do you mean you don't have access?
Well, and look, here's the little shed. I mean, I don't know. How much is that? That's a nice little shed, I guess, kind of. I don't know. It's really not. I mean, how much is that thing worth? Surely that's where this extra, 6 figures came from.
I don't know, but
maybe it's this nice shiny pump, or I guess this is maybe the display on the pump. I don't really know, but maybe that's worth the extra money.
I don't know.
It may be. Look, folks, I'm being serious. I don't know how much these things cost. Maybe that does justify it.
Yeah. So let's go back to the video, and we got to hear Ruttenbuck. We got to hear the explanation.
Man, all right.
I know I'm jumping you around like a kangaroo.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me get. Let's see if I can get to the right screen here. Okay. That should be the screenshot right there. All right, here we go. Let's go.
Encapsulate all those costs into one, into this ordinance to move it forward. So our fees will include post design, which is construction administration and inspection. We bill those inspection services at an hourly rate, and we've put in there the contract time on this project is 120 days. So we based that number on 120 days worth of construction. We anticipate it'll go much quicker than that, but as you guys have seen, most construction projects aren't going much quicker than that. So rather than err on the side of optimism, I'm erring on the side of reality on that project. But hopefully it goes quick.
Right.
Lawler, we got a good contractor on the project. He feels like he can get the materials in and get moving, and it's suggested it's probably about a 60-day time frame there, and so that's the way it'll work. So ideally, when it's done, we'll be coming back with a
ideally, maybe, hopefully, I think.
But I just felt
May.
Yeah, who knows? Who really knows? Blah blah blah. You can tell me when to stop at any point in time.
Originally,
right?
But we were taking a stab at it at about 30,000 feet.
Taking a stab at it.
Design done. We've done all the property acquisition efforts.
There we go.
On and on it goes. So we didn't anticipate it taking 12 months.
That's my take on the whole thing, right there.
We didn't anticipate.
Blah, wah, wah. Sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher. Wah, 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 wah. And
yeah, that was my initial.
All right, here we go.
See 95,000, and then see what's it come up to, like 281,000 now. It just seemed like a huge number.
It is.
And I didn't know. Obviously, I just want to make sure that we're being wise with money and whatnot. So that's why I felt the need to ask. So.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yep.
For you guys to decide whether or not you want to do the job.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it, just start pumping your crap off in the ditch.
Wow. I don't even know where to begin. I'm going to put up another comment by former amigo Shane Cheatham. He says, I wonder, since the original resolution was for an emergency, who did the emergency bond? The emergency is still a problem a year later and costs more. Interesting. All right, sorry, dude.
Yeah, some emergency that was. I mean, I'm just wondering at what point. I mean, the city of Bossier had never had any problems about expropriating property from people across the city for, projects, like boardwalks and things like that. I'm just wondering, for an emergency like this, you're telling me that they couldn't, fast track something to get the turds moving, over there in Bossier?
Yeah, as like our good friend David Womack says, we are in a drought with no rain. Construction projects are all ahead of schedule, except yours being Ruttenbuck. But again,
Here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know, Rex. Tell me, how many mistakes can Manshack make on estimating and performance? You know, I mean, how many can they make? How many can Bossier afford? How many are the councilman, Tommy Chandler? How many are they going to allow, and how much of the taxpayer dollars are they going to allow Manshack to take from the taxpayers of Bossier? Because that's what this is about. This was an emergency a year ago. It's not now. The cost to do this job is 3 times the amount it was before. I mean, it doesn't get any more egregious than this right here. But Shed Road, who is responsible for Shed Road?
There is a common denominator between all of this, but I also have to say the secondary common denominator is the city council. You ask how many times they're going to, Manshack's going to be able to basically get by with this every time until the city council actually stands up and has a set of kahunas and puts their foot down. Again, I appreciate Chris Smith and Brian Hammond's had a couple of points here. I appreciate their line of questioning, but boys, y'all are too nice. The professionalism goes right out the door when we're seeing the same repetitive type things over and over, and it's costing the city and the taxpayers hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. Take off the nice face. The friendship, I'm not saying you're friends with Ruttenbuck, but Chris, the friendship stops at the door, and that's where the business starts.
Now, Rex, you do know there's a theory out there, right?
And which one would that be?
Now, there's a theory out there that Manshack isn't actually going to charge the city all that money.
Really?
And Ruttenbuck even says it in his comments right here. He alludes to it. So, the word on the street is that city of Bossier's got these slush funds.
Wait, slush just sounds, I mean, I like slushies, but slush fund is bad.
Yeah, slushy fund, slush fund, whatever. They got these slush funds, right? And you got to replenish them, and you got to have ways to replenish them or whatever. And you say, well, okay, I'm totally lost. What are you talking about? What are you meaning here? So, okay, let me give you an example. So, old Ruttenbuck there, and you'll see in his comments here, I don't know, we need to find it here because we need to play it and let him articulate it. When he's talking about estimating professional, not professional.
The one about they estimate but bill only for the hours they use, that one?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I see it in the notes.
Right there.
All right, I'm going to jump us to that one, but before I jump us to that one, I have got to point out that Mr. Ronald J. Cheatham, who, if I remember correctly, is Shane Cheatham's dad, he points out David is snoring. It looks like he's snoring to me, too. What do you think, Duke?
I don't know. I think he's grimacing. He is tired of listening to all this. He's had his fill of it. I think he's ready to go. He's ready to check out.
And our good friend David Crockett said, who is the mayor's project manager that tracks and prioritizes? David, I can tell you definitively you're looking at the back side of the project manager right there, standing up there at the podium thing. Okay.
Because ain't nobody else got a clue.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead to the estimating timestamp right here, and let's see what this project management guy from the project managing company for the city of Bossier has to say.
So that's what it's for.
Is that billed out hourly, and you just kind of
estimate?
Billed hourly.
No, okay. It's not. We estimate that number based on the total days of construction, but we invoice based on the hours our inspectors put on that project.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
You want to pause
there?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. He said we estimate. First he says we don't estimate. Then he says we estimate based off of the construction, but we only bill for the actual days that our inspectors are out there.
And they just happen to all be even numbers.
Did you catch that?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Keep playing him.
Okay, here we go.
I'd gone back and looked at other projects, and I couldn't find any projects where we paid that much. I mean, Melrose, we paid about $22,000. Bardot and Montgomery Lane, $12,000 and $19,000. And so that number kind of stuck out as a number that's much higher than what we've seen previously.
And you'd probably see on all of those in the PO, we asked for much more than what we actually ended up needing on that project, just based on, again, we're having to crystal ball gauge as to what we think it's going to be.
All right. So the point is, and what I'm talking about a slush fund, so we ask for more than we actually need. So I'm not going to call anybody out in our show, but if they ask for so much money in this account and that money's moved over there and then they don't use it, does that money go back to the general fund or does it stay there?
Well, I want to know if Manchak's going to write a refund check. I want to see the check.
Well, if they don't ever get it. If it's sitting in that account and it ain't ever pulled out, but does it ever go back to the general fund? Does the taxpayer ever get the benefit of it, or does it stay in that fund?
No, you never let a good project, budget like that go to waste. You know the drill. I mean, generally we hear about this like with the federal government, and, the $1,000 toilet seats and $500 hammers and all that crap. But we've got it sitting right here, apparently, in our own city.
Now, I'm just saying that's a theory that was thrown out there at us. That's a theory that was thrown out there at us. I don't know. I don't have the I don't have the knowledge on the inside to know whether that's accurate. But that would make a little bit of a sense. Maybe it's black helicopters. I don't know.
So I want to be clear. You're not saying that you or we have direct knowledge of an actual slush fund, but there's always that possibility, or could be in theory.
Yeah, it's possible. But what I do know, and what I can tell you for a fact is that you've got a project right here, which is an example, that was a $95,000 project. 1 year later, it's a $300,000 project. And this is one project, and these guys and this company are doing countless. I mean, we can go to the Manchac file and pull up, the public information request of all of the jobs and all the billing. The amount of money that's flowing through Manchac and Bossier City right now is freaking astronomical. And these guys, this is the closest to auditing and accounting of what's happening as you're going to get, is just these guys that just asked these questions in this meeting right here. Tommy Chandler, when he said he was going to get elected, he said he was going to audit everything. He ain't done jack. He's standing in the way of doing all that.
Did he? I just noticed he's actually at the meeting. Did he even say anything in this meeting?
Oh, they asked him if he wanted to say anything at the end of the meeting. He said, I ain't got nothing to say. Well, no, he ain't got nothing to say.
Great.
He doesn't know what's going on.
I think Ashley Lee, hold on, I got to interject here. I think Ashley Lee has it figured out. She says the overage is going to the Zamboni fleet. I'm sorry, folks. I can't leave the Zambonis alone. All right.
But again, I go back to how many mistakes can Bossier City taxpayers afford by Manchac? How many mistakes can they afford? And is this a mistake or is it intentional? But how many other, if they, let's just say, for instance, they estimated this to be $95,000 and they were wrong, and it actually is going to cost $300,000. How many more times have they done this?
Yeah, and the city council just yes men, and they just voted in, and away they go. And like I said, I was kind of on Chris a little bit tonight, but again, I appreciate him and Brian both for at least asking some questions and trying to elicit some sort of responses. They're still they're doing what they were elected to do, what they ran on.
Now, this line of questioning, came to another thing, and did you know that there is actually another? Let me find it.
The suspense is killing me.
Yeah. 2918 Hammonds. When Hammonds asked the question about, did this not fall under, the guidelines of their existing contract?
Yeah. So let's listen to Brian for a second.
I've got one for you, Ben. The general services during construction of $3,950, should that not be included in the services that are paid to Manchac monthly?
I don't know that I understand the question.
Well, I mean, they've got in here general services during construction of $3,950. I know the city pays them a fee every month for general services, and I'm just wondering, should that be included?
The city pays us a fee to manage public utilities. This is what we would consider a capital improvement project. We have a separate contract to do that work.
Wait a minute. Is sewage part of public utilities?
Well, I would think it is, but the key thing here is he just said they have a separate contract for that. Did you know that?
Oh, so we've been getting jacked around. Yeah, we've been getting jacked around on one contract, but apparently there's more than one.
Well, apparently there's a lot of contracts. You know, you got a public utilities contract. You got general management he's got a general management contract. Hell, they got a Walter O. Bigby carriageway contract.
I am so glad you were paying close attention to the video, because apparently I was not today, because that one would have slipped right by me. Good job.
So speaking of contracts and speaking of Manchac and Walter O. Bigby, did you know what? We got that contract.
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, and this thing is obviously not short. Give me a second here and let me get it pulled up here. It'll take me probably about 10 or 15 seconds here. Now that we're bouncing around into the contract, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to comment on you showing our notes page there as we check out. Y'all may not believe this or not, but we are organized. We do have notes.
Well, that's only
caught a glimpse.
That's only about the third or fourth time I've done it tonight. Switching screens around in the software, I have to put us in another screen, and I'm just hadn't done it. So I don't think we said too many mean things in the notes tonight, so we should be okay.
So talking about accountability, and nobody in Bossier City will talk about Walter O. Bigby Carriageway and Shed Road, and nobody seems to want to define the 8 digits or go there. They don't want to do that, and you know, people. Some people tell us they're anyway, I'm not going to go there. I was fixing to be mean. Rex. See, I'm retracting it. But
wow.
You know,
okay. So tell everybody what we've got pulled up here, especially those that are just listening and can't necessarily see the video. So where are we headed? What are we kind of showing here?
Well, this was the ordinance for the for Manchac being put in charge of to be the manager of the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway.
Okay. I mean, and appropriating $2.1 million from the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway Fund for the services to be provided in conjunction with said agreement. So the way I'm reading this is just for them to manage that project. Is that correct?
Project managers right there.
Okay.
I mean, they did it. And I think I don't have it. It's in the files, but I don't have it listed as a cut.
Mm-hmm.
But Manchac Engineering Ordinance 2.1 million, and it's actually a PDF.
Okay.
But it's actually got the contract with Manchac
this
Engineering.
is it. Yeah, this is it.
Okay, well, and if you keep going and you ultimately get down through there, you will get to the point to where when it comes to talking about railroad crossings and permits and all of that, there's some lines in there that talk about how they are responsible for securing those things before any thing is let out. You know, like to begin work, or notice to proceed, or any of that stuff. Yeah, the responsibility is documented right there in the contract.
Yeah, so, this is looking at Article 1 of it, services of project manager being Manchac. And then Article 2, and there's only like point A and point B in the scope of that. And then Article 2, right below it, is owner's responsibilities. The owner would be the city of Bossier. And I don't know, this is like a couple of pages long. Notice number one, they're going to pay the project manager as set forth in Exhibit C. But it goes on down here. Honestly, Duke, I just kind of skimmed over this earlier, so if there's some particular thing you want me to point out.
Well, the point was, and I didn't have time to highlight or any of that, and I'm guessing off the top of my head that it was page 19 in one of the subsections or whatever, where it delineated that it was Manshac's responsibility to secure the permitting and right-of-ways, Shed Road. Now, remember, everybody, how could you forget, and it's my pet peeve, we, by gosh, had to close down Shed Road, and if you'll recall, they tried to throw NTB under the bus and tried to blame NTB for it. Well, here's the thing. You know who was responsible for it? It was Manshack. It's right here in black and white in their contract. And what did your mayor and what did your council do? Were they going to hold Manshack accountable for it? No. They weren't going to hold them accountable for it.
Yeah, they literally acted like they had never said anything negative about NTV. Like they just all played like, oh my goodness,
oh my gosh, we're so surprised. We can't believe this
we
is
called
happening.
We called a special meeting, but we're not going to mention anything we called a special meeting about because those guys are sitting out there with their attorney.
Yeah, we're so shocked. We're just the mayor and the council. What can we do? Oh no, but. There again, Manshack, but Rex.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Did you know there's another management contract out there? Look,
what?
Bossier City ain't content with just having one contract.
You've got to be kidding.
One manager's not enough. We done paid for it once. We can't have that.
How many managers this is like how many people do we need to put a light bulb in kind of thing? And I'd like to point out that David Jones says maybe that is what Hudson was shouting about. That would be Mark Hudson.
Well, as I understand it, the city didn't have enough from one manager. We had to get another manager. Why? Because Manshack couldn't get the job done, yet there's a contract and they signed it. They're a business. They're an entity on their own. They entered into agreement to manage the whole damn thing and take care of everything. But for some reason, they were incapable of doing it. So what do? The taxpayer, you're going to pay for another manager. You've paid for one manager. So what do we do in Bossier?
Hey, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2's more than 1. It's got to be better.
Yeah. So, cut.
Yeah, I'm just scanning down this right quick. So let me know what you want to pull up next. And folks, like I said, we're going to publish this in full on the Bossier Watch Facebook page as well. Permitting, ensure that all necessary. Here we go, right here. I think this might be what you're talking about, Duke. Let me highlight this real quick. Hold on. This is number 6. This is services or responsibilities of the project manager. I just highlighted it in yellow. It says, ensure that all necessary permits from regulatory agencies, railroads, etc. are obtained prior to advertising for bids. Is that the one you were talking about?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I wasn't focusing.
That's okay. It basically said that they being Manshack, the project manager, were responsible for getting all necessary permits before advertising for bids.
I don't know where our notes went because I literally have another contract with Beast Engineering, for, and quote unquote, the Walter O. Bigby Carriageway Phase 2. Mm-hmm. So what happens is, Manshack can't do the job because they don't have the skills. So the city of Bossier paid Manshack to do this job. And then what happens? The city of Bossier goes and hires another engineering company to do the bridge portion because Manshack couldn't do it. So my question is did the city of Bossier just pay for management twice for the same thing? And if they paid Manshack to be the manager of the whole thing, why did Manshack not have to pay Beast Engineering for the management of the bridge section because they were incapable of doing it?
Well, if one manager's better, is good. Two's got to be better. But it goes back to what I was saying. Again, I only skimmed through this engineering or project management agreement deal or whatever. But the first page or two, couple of pages I skimmed down and looked at, it's like project manager got paid, project manager's a project manager, but they don't really have that many responsibilities. They do have a list. Again, getting the permits was one of them, but when you read the first two, the difference in the scope between the project manager and the owner, being the city, is huge. It's like, they're a safety consultant on a pipeline job or something. They just get to sit out there and watch everybody and not really have any responsibility.
It is abundantly clear to me that you've got several things that are indisputable here. One, you don't have elected officials in the city of Bossier that are willing to go to the mat over the monies dealing with Manchac. The closest thing you get to it is Chris Smith and, now Brian Hammonds beating around the bush, asking a few questions. Your mayor and the rest of the councilmen, they're not doing it. Manchac is making mistakes. They're spending a lot of the taxpayers' money, and there's nobody there to question them. There's no oversight. There's no bid on it. It's professional services. Professional services that they are basically just writing their own checks.
Yeah.
They're writing their own checks. Tommy Chandler's office is not holding them accountable. They're not auditing things. They're not checking any of this crap. They're the ones that put this thing up today. There should have been some justification for going from 95,000 to 300,000, and I didn't hear it today. I did not hear it today. And I got to go full circle, and I'm throwing a lot of rocks down there, but I'm going to go full circle, and I'm going to go back to Darby and give Darby credit. When Manchac came along, Darby said, and I think the examples of Shed Road and Walter O'Bigby and what you saw today in Bruce Street, and those are just the start. I think these are the tips of the iceberg. Before we're said and done, I think we're going to find out that the city of Bossier took down the road and hosed, is what I think we're going to end up finding. And I think Darby's going to be vindicated, because what Darby said was, he said that, he wasn't sure that they had the experience to do this job. And he didn't want Manchac to be in the position that they're in. I think he was right.
Yeah, being city engineer is not one of those learn as you go type of positions, really. Not when you're dealing with things like, emergency sewer leaks and repairing roads and dealing with the railroad and all these other things. Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Darby was correct.
But basically, your elected officials in Bossier have gave a blank check to Manchac for them to write to themselves whatever they want to write. There's no accountability of them.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you that, but if you live in Bossier City and you're paying taxes there, that's the situation you're faced with.
Well, and so then the question is, as we kind of start wrapping up, is, okay, so what do our friends and followers, what can you do about it? What can the average citizen, Bossier citizen, do about it? Well, one is email, write your city councilman, text them, call them, whatever. Call the mayor. Go find Tommy the next time he's at a photo op. Ask him some of these questions. Give him some questions to ask Manchac. Give him some things to do. Show up at the meetings. I forget who it was earlier. One of our viewers commented and said, we've got a lot more people watching the show than we're in the whole city council meeting. And, we appreciate the comment, but it's kind of sad when we're dealing with these type of things. So do that sort of thing. Of course, share out Bossier Watch. Tell folks to watch us. And
ask the mayor, the custodian of records, why him and his city attorney are not responsive to public information requests.
Yeah.
Why do they not provide it? Why are they seeking to hide things?
Yeah.
Ask them that. Remember all the transparency talk? Remember all the audit talk? What about term limits? What about a charter commission? You know,
Where
is all that out? Where is it?
Yeah, what did that old lady say on the Wendy's commercial years and years ago? Where's the beef, Tommy?
So all I would say is that all of y'all, you ought to be thinking about the next election because you didn't get it this one.
Yeah, and one more thing too. Reach out to Chris Smith as well. He is a councilman at large, which means he basically, his constituents are the entire city. Let him know that you think he's doing a good job.
Now,
give him suggestions. Whatever.
Now, speaking of Chris Smith, I'm glad you brought that up. Because for the most part, we gave him a little praise tonight, but he's also due a little ridicule.
Yeah, I had almost forgotten about that, but now that you bring it up, you are correct. Yeah, he did a little bit of a social media snafu.
He did, and he actually broke some rules, and we ain't going to spare him from that. He needs to take his licks, and because he can't do this. I don't care who it is. No politician's going to get away with this.
Yeah. So, all right, let me get on my soapbox again. So here's the deal: is as a politician, you can't ban people from your page as an elected official, not a politician. Let me rephrase that. As an elected official, you can't ban people from your page. I mean, it's got to be something egregious, nothing but cuss words kind of thing. But even if they're not in, let's say you're a councilman for a single district, which Chris is at large, but let's say you're a councilman for a single district and I come in and I make some comments and I'm not in your district, you still can't ban me. You don't take the oath to only the people in your district. As a matter of fact, if you remember, Duke, a couple of years ago, the Trump administration got in trouble for doing this very thing on social media. All right?
Yep.
Okay. So, and look, the truth is, I'll share this out. State Rep Dodie Horton, she's a great rep, good friend and all that, but she had pulled back from social media and she had kind of done the same thing and had to sit down with her and say, okay, this is the way that, you got to do things and all that. And now she's back on social media pretty good and has a pretty good following. But Chris posted something on his personal timeline, okay, not his city councilman page, but it doesn't matter because if you have posted or shared any other political notices on your personal timeline, that pretty much qualifies that you're using it for the political side as well, and the official side. So if you post something on your timeline, don't delete it. Especially when you've allowed commentary on it. That's a no-no, Chris. And what happens is, not only is it a no-no potentially legally, but now all of a sudden you have fueled the fire of a lot of people out there who may not be fans of Chris, who may be fans of the other side in the city council drama and saga. And you just fed the flames of that because we got the messages. Why did Chris post something and then delete it?
Yeah, so we won't dig deep into that, but Chris, you're on notice. Don't be deleting stuff. We saw it. We caught it. You were wrong. Own up to it. If you're going to post something, you can't do that. I mean, you're an elected official. It's the way it is. You made a mistake. I mean, that's it. Don't do it again.
Yeah. And by the way, Chris, I agree with your original post. It is ridiculous.
I agree with it too. And I could speculate as to the why. He even, I mean, I think I could understand the why he may have wanted to take it off of there. I don't think that he would have changed his position on the issue because I agreed with him on the issue. Totally agreed with him on the issue. It is asinine and it is ridiculous. But the bottom line is he can't do it.
Yeah, he can't. And again, deleting it, coming back and editing the comment, because you can always look at the edit history, especially on Facebook, but editing the original or adding something to it. Hey, since I posted this is what's transpired, and all that. So yeah, you want to do that, but
I had somebody asking me, it says, what are y'all talking about? They texted me, they said, what are y'all talking about? Do you want to show it?
Yeah, I mean, he did post it publicly. So, Chris, I hate to say it because, look, this was shared out from multiple sources to us. You did publish it publicly, if I can talk. So yeah, let me get it queued up right here.
I mean, it's out of his control now.
Yeah, it is. So here's the thing. This was not 47 minutes ago. This was a few days ago, maybe even a week ago. But anyway, so Chris said, for those of you that are watching, or listening and not watching, he said, do you want to know what's wrong with healthcare in the United States? Got a bill from Willis Knight and South, $896 for 2.5 milliliters of Motrin for my daughter who had a fever. This isn't capitalism, it's greed. Now, look, I'm a capitalistic pig, but I pretty much agree with him. You know, healthcare costs are crazy. Oh, and there's Chris too. He's joining us. Great. So there's what was posted, and again, Chris, you know, I agree with you on that. $896 for Motrin is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know if it's prescription strength or what it was, but you can go down to Walmart or any other pharmacy, Walgreens or whatever.
Kaylee Larkin just dropped the mic. She said that looks like a Manchac contract to me.
Hold on, we got to put that on the screen. See?
Oh, that's classic. That is classic right there.
Yeah, but anyway,
you know,
let me put in Chris's
right.
defense. Yeah, let me put his comment up in his defense. Chris Smith says, and hey, Chris, we appreciate you coming on and commenting. Not hiding anything, turned into more than it was ever intended to be, just a frustrated dad. We get it. Absolutely get it. And absolutely agree with you. The only place I disagree is you should have maybe left the original and just gone back and edited it. You know, hey, after a follow-up deal and discussing this with Willis Knight and their billing department, you know, okay, I understand now, or whatever the scenario was. Because when you delete stuff like that, it just doesn't look good, especially to people who aren't necessarily on your side.
Yeah, and there's a lot of multiple reasons that you know, him going to social media, somebody could throw a rock at him saying, you know, they could have accused him of wrongdoing, like as if he was trying to use his position to get favor on something or whatever. You know, I don't believe that for 1 minute. I mean, and then, you know,
but
I think he was legitimately pissed off, and rightfully so. I got to tell you, you give me 2.5 cc's of Motrin at $895.
Yeah, you want to know what's wrong with healthcare? That's what's wrong with healthcare. Look, I can tell you as a tech guy, having helped some doctors and doctors' offices around the area and all that, just what they spend on tech support to do things bass-ackwards is ridiculous. Healthcare has a lot of problems. But look, most people are in his defense. But I want to put up Dawn's comment. Let me just be direct about this, Dawn. Why it matters if he deleted it? Because Chris is a city councilman now, and Chris is doing things that most of the other city councilmen have not really been doing for quite some time, and that's asking questions. He ran on literally trying to go in and help fix things. Okay, and there are a lot of people that don't like that. Trust me, I've literally sat down with some of these people and got my ass chewed over it. Okay, so it matters because people like me that used to help campaigns do negative things and all sorts of things would take that and absolutely run with it. And it might not turn into a major campaign issue, but it would definitely be a thorn in Chris's side. That's why it matters. So
and you know, when local elected officials start talking about things relating to healthcare costs and insurance, you know, you start opening up a bigger can of worms that expands out into other realms. You know, maybe say with senators and representatives who've had past debates and, you know, auto insurance and things like that. I think we said we were going to go down that road in a later show, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. And kind of segueing, Ron Cheatham says this world we live in is in this world we are in is in sad shape. So, interesting. And maybe last comment, Jerry Gallman says, I will need you to run my page when the time comes. Jeremy, just trust me. You don't want me to do that. You need to be careful in telling people you watch Bossier Watch, because the wrong people will not like you then.
All right, Rex, before we wrap this up, I got to tell you a story. So
Okay.
I had a friend of mine that's a lobbyist down in Baton Rouge, right? And no, she's not a cockroach. We don't talk. But this friend that's a lobbyist down there called me and said, I was down there and we were talking about a subject, and we got to talking. And the lobbyist says, I knew this person was from Bossier, and they were talking about some of the political things that were going on in Bossier. And they said, upon being asked, well, where did you hear this? Where did you get your news from? I said, oh, I get all my news from Bossier Watch. And they said, from where? From
What is
Bossier
that?
Watch. I said, no, I don't get it from 3, 6, or 12. I get it from Bossier Watch. That's where I try to stay on top of things in Bossier. That's where I get my news from.
Hey, we're supposed to be keeping an eye out on Bossier. So that's
well,
awesome.
Apparently we're doing a good job, because we have reached the halls of the legislature.
Well, and look, even better than that, we're at another 2-hour show, and we still have 40-something, nearly 50 people watching 2 hours in. I mean, that's a testament, because most Facebook Lives don't do well when they run, long, So I would say we're trying to make a difference, and look, folks, as we said over and over and over, we're not, true journalists. We're amateur journalists. We do inject our opinions and what we think. We do have people reach out to us with information that sometimes, we tease it out there after we've at least tried to confirm that it's somewhat legitimate. And that's what we're here to do, is to talk about the stuff that, the normal news is not going to talk about. They won't even touch this kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, and I'll just say, personally, thank you all for giving us your time. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the most valuable thing that each and every one of us have in life is, our time. And I am appreciative of your time that you give us, listening to us ramble. And basically, I like seeing y'all's comments. I like seeing what y'all think. And, we feed off of y'all. So
yeah, we do.
This ain't just a me and Rex thing. This is a us and y'all. I mean, it's thank y'all. That's all I just want to say.
I can't add anything or say anything better than that, Duke. You said it well, my friend. Let's end it on that note.
Good night, brother.
Good night. Good night to everybody. See y'all next time.